So I want to talk to you about safety with rope and shibari. This is really, really important because we don't really want to hurt anyone. We don't really want to be hurt. And if we can play as safely as possible, that's important. So important things that you need to know to play as safely as possible is you need to make sure you have something to cut rope. So this is my rope cutter. And if I just do it, there's a little blade inside. You can get safety shears, medical shears, something just with a rounded tip so you don't actually cut or accidentally stab your rope bottom. So you want to make sure you have one of these around if you're going to be playing with rope. It's really important to make sure because you just never know when you're going to need it. So that's one thing. The other is you want to make sure you never leave the room. If you are tying somebody, you want to make sure you have everything in the room and you've gone to the restroom, you've done everything you need, you have the snacks, you have water, you have everything in your room, in your space, wherever you are. You don't have to go anywhere. Because the fact is, first of all, if you did leave, a few things could happen. First of all, you're not seeing what your rope bottom is going through. You're not seeing if they start to panic, if they start to go into feeling abandoned, or they just really need to get out of the rope. You're not seeing that. That's one thing. And that's not being responsible with your bunny or your bottom. The other thing is when you leave the room, what happens if you trip, you fall, you hurt yourself? You want to make sure that you're safe. You're safe in caring for them. You're safe with your own body. So you stay in the space because if something happened, they're tied up. There's nothing anybody can do. So stay in the space, be mindful, be careful. When you're, if you're wrapping their legs, make sure that they have something to hang on to. Stuff like this. I see people wrapping legs really tight and they're standing and they don't have anything to hang on to or their arms are wrapped. Be mindful of this. Be mindful. Be careful of how you're wrapping them. Be careful of if they can fall on this, that, and the other, and if they can catch themselves, or making sure that they have a suspension line on the back, so if they go to tip over, they have that holding them up. So things about rope specifically, first of all, when you go to tie rope, you want to make sure that all the lines they're not twisted like this. You want to make sure, and they're not covering over each other. You're not doing your lines where this is all over the place. You want to make sure they are clean and laying down flat and next to each other, and that there's no spaces, because if there's spaces, they can pinch skin, especially on the thighs or the waist, upper arms, stuff like that. And you don't want that. You want them, really clean and clear like this. You want to make sure there's nerve areas. Like a lot of people are concerned. First of all, they're concerned like when the tingling happens. They're like, oh, is this nerve damage? Tingling, usually 99% of the time, is just blood loss. You can lose blood, like you have no blood in your limbs, your extremities, your elbows, your hands, your feet and knees. So like this for up to 3 hours with no damage. Just for the tingling. Now, there is cases that sometimes blood will flow into the hands and can't flow out. The thumb will get so swollen with blood that then it's so uncomfortable that it feels like you can't move it. This is one of the signs, and so that's just blood filling up. But there's other key things with nerve damage, like where you can't move 2 of your fingers, or you can't move your thumb, and that is nerve damage, or shooting pains, fiery pains, anything like that. So sometimes when the blood fills up in your hands and you can barely move your thumb, if you wonder like, oh, is it nerve damage? All I know is if that ever happens, that's happened actually to me when I've been tied, and I just asked to be changed positions. And it's happened twice, and it's been fine. But you want to make sure you're mindful, you're careful, and you want to make sure, like you as a top, that you're putting your hands in your bottoms, hands, your fingers, and they're squeezing all fingers, and you're doing it with both hands. bunnies, you want to make sure you just move your hands from time to time and your toes to make sure they're moving, to make sure that the top can just like look and go, oh, okay, they're moving, they're good. And if there's any pain or fiery pain, shooting pain, any of this, then you tell your top, and then first thing you do is wherever it is, like if it's, you know, on the hands or something, the first thing you want to do is clear the wraps on the arms and then immediately just start unwrapping. Also, you want to make sure that you're not tying in bad, really nerve dense areas tightly. So like your ankles, you want to make sure on your ankles, here's my ankle, you want to make sure your fingers, your two fingers can still get in there, and you give them space to breathe and the nerves to be safe. So that is really important. It's a vital part of keeping the nerves safe. And besides with the feet, they're not going to come out of the ropes anyway, so you can leave them a little looser. You don't want to tie behind the knees. You don't want to tie, let me show you, in this hip area, right here. Here's my hip bone, right on the inside of hip bone. There's a nerve patch right on both inside of the hips. You don't want knots right there. You don't want your wrist really tight. You want to be able to put one or two fingers in the wrist cuffs or in the double column ties or single column ties. You want to make sure this is a really sensitive area. It's very exposed, and it goes to even the back of the arms where the nerves are. You want to make sure when you're laying rope down here that it's at the bottom of the deltoid. It's not here. It's still on the deltoid. You don't want it in the middle of the deltoid because the rope can just come right off. You want this bottom part of the deltoid. See, my fingers are about a little probably bigger than the ropes, but it goes right here, not here. Here, this is the bottom of the deltoid. When you're doing ropes here, a lot of times this is the place that you get blood supply cut off, and that's okay. And this is also, if you clear this, blood sometimes just flows back in the hands if people are uncomfortable with the lack of blood flow. You want to make sure when you're laying down rope here, you want to make sure it's not too close to the neck. You want to make sure it's like on the middle of the shoulders instead of really close to the neck. These are areas that, and you don't tie on the inner elbows. You want to make sure that you're tying firm enough, tight enough, but not too tight in these nerve areas. You want to make sure to avoid, especially having rope going in this area. Also, in this exact diagonal, straight across. You want it straight across the chest, straight across the chest. So these are mindful areas to make sure that your nerves stay safe and your body stays safe, your bunny stays safe. If you have any questions, let me know. I would love to hear from you. And I might do another video on more safety tips, but this is the majority of the ones that you definitely